Hopefully you fasten your seatbelts for the next 2 hours.
Right.
That's nonsense, Clint. I'm not buying it. I'm sorry.
I don't care what you buy.
That's
just
nonsense.
My feeling.
You're not just buying a racetrack. You're buying a piece of American racing history right there. I mean, that's huge. The history behind the track, just mind-boggling.
You hear a lot of rumors in the rumor mill. I'll just keep tuning in to you guys to hear the truth when it comes down to it. So
don't do that. I've already had one dose of tin hat syndrome today. I don't need a second one.
Stuart Friesen said to Brett, he says, "Why don't you bring us to more places like this?" And Brett goes, "There isn't any other place like this."
Race fans, it's time to throw it up on the cushion and get dirty. Coming to you live from the Finger Lakes and Southern Tier, it's time for Turn 5 Live. Now, your hosts of Turn 5 Live, Steve Ovens, Clint Miller, and Brad Ovens.
You guys tonight here on Turn 5 Live. We were fully expecting to be broadcasting live from Outlaw Speedway tonight, and that wretched old hag, Mother Nature, screwed things up again, Clint Miller. I am so sick of Mother Nature, rain, and I've been able to go to races for the last 3 or 4 weekends. I can't even imagine what the people at Utica Rome are thinking.
Oh, I know. What's 3 Sundays in a row that they've been rained out? 2 at least.
5.
5 Sundays in a row, really?
5 Sundays in a row.
I did not know that. So now they are going to mess with the universe and race on Thursday, I hear.
Yes, that's the plan. Utica Rome Speedway going to be racing on Thursday night out there just off of the New York State Thruway over in Verona. Actually, the track located... what is that? Vernon, I believe, is where the track's actually located. But anyway, I get off topic here. Yeah, that's their plan. Thursday Night Thunder at Utica Rome coming up on Thursday night. Short Track Super Series going to be taking place tomorrow night at Outlaw Speedway. Of course, that's been the topic of the day, as you know, the forecast was crappy. It's been crappy for about a week. We kind of, honestly, if you've been following the weather, you know, the postponement today was probably not much of a shock to you at all. So you know, that's kind of where we're at with things. You know, it certainly shook up our schedule for tonight, but there's so much that is still going on, Clint, to talk about. I mean, you've got a full night of racing in at Outlaw from Friday night. You've got a full night in at Woodhull last Saturday. Canandaigua, and we're going to talk about this later. What about that modified feature finish? I mean, I don't know that any of us were actually there to see it, but from everything I have read, that was a fantastic feature finish, although I'm hearing that the Shepherd Boo Birds are getting a little bit louder at Canandaigua.
I wouldn't worry about that in the least. Nobody likes a winner. And B, if they're not booing you, you ain't winning. So good for Matt. Keep rolling, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Brad Ovens joining us on tonight's show as well. Brad, you guys got some sprint car racing in this past weekend. So how was the trip for you guys?
It was good. Good show down at I-88. Had a lot of good support. We were able to do a bike raffle giveaway. One of our teams donated a girls and a boys bike, and we were able to raffle that away. I-88, the track was phenomenal. They did a fan appreciation night with just us 305 sprint cars. So we took all of our sprint cars, and if you're familiar with I-88, we parked them right on the front stretch of the horse track between the racetrack and the grandstands, and we let all the fans down and get autographs, and the drivers got to pass out hero cards and all sorts of fun stuff like that. So that was a great trip. A huge applause and a thank you to everybody at I-88 and the promoters and everybody that put that together. And Patriots had one whale of a show at Fulton Saturday night. Went out with the Patriots and Mike Emhoff and his crew, and I'll tell you what, there was a first-time sprint car winner, and he did something that I didn't think anybody was going to be able to do that night. So it was a really good, really good weekend for sprint car racing.
Oh, and by the way, also Ransomville Friday night, Brad, the Cobra getting back into victory lane.
Yeah, I mean, if you need a feel-good story, that's your feel-good story right there. You know, I believe that's his first time getting back in victory lane after his coming back from his injury over the winter. So those guys are really stepping it up. He had a really good, strong finish at Fulton Saturday night as well. I believe he was top 3, if not top 3, top 5. So the Cobra really starting to turn up the heat and really starting to fall back into his seat and getting comfy. And, you know, yeah, going to Woodhall this weekend, you're really going to have to watch out for him there.
And I stand corrected, Clint, on the Utica Rome note. It's been 6 weeks in a row. May 1st, wow. May 8th, May 15th, May 22nd, and May 30th, and now June 5th. So 6 rainouts in a row. Now, you could talk to a dirt track promoter and say, you know, we had a really tough season. We lost 6 shows last year. But it kind of takes it to a whole nother level when it's 6 shows in a row. I mean,
well, you don't build racetracks to let them sit idle. Those, the guys that own it and promote it, they're not making anything. They're not helping themselves out by having to call the races. So, it's definitely not anything that they want.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We sometimes we do this toward the end of the show, but with everything kind of, we're just shaking up the shoebox here tonight. I thought it would be interesting because, we've all bring a different perspective to Turn 5 Live, and I thought it would be interesting, guys, tonight to start with checkered flags and black flags. Sometimes we do it toward the end of the show, and in the case that somebody doesn't listen all the way through to the end of the show, I thought maybe we'd start with tonight's checkered flags and black flags. So, Brad or Clint, whoever has them ready, you guys can go ahead and lead us off here tonight.
Wow, I didn't expect to be doing this. I'm gonna give a checkered flag to obviously I'm gonna do it to the guy that got the checkered flag on Saturday night, Matt Shepard, coming from deep in the field. Great racing action. Like I said, none of us were there, but I've heard tons about it, and I think it's just great that he keeps the winning ways going on. And I guess if you talk about it, and it's kind of old news now that he's on his own. And but I just think it's great that he's going to just keep on winning. My black flag for the week, I'm going to say, I'm going to go with Mother Nature tonight. Because not only, did she rain on our parade, but she's doing it scattered all across the land, and it's a bummer too because you sit here and right now it looks good, but 10 minutes from now we could have thunderstorms and. Just if you're gonna rain it out, rain it out. If you're not, don't toy with us.
Yeah, I was gonna. You're absolutely right because about 20 minutes ago, my deck was soaked. It was raining outside, and now you look outside and you're like, man, this is perfect racing weather. But it's just been that kind of day. It's been all over the place. I thought I was sitting through a tornado in Sarah, Pennsylvania, earlier today. And it's just been it's just been that way all day today.
And I was sitting and I was talking to some people at work about it and some people online, and and Tyler, whoever made the decision to call it early, I'm gonna say Tyler because he's had a habit of calling it early. Benefiting the racer, and people don't like it, but it's a different era nowadays. People are traveling from a lot farther. You have to make a decision early and think about those people. And Tyler's been on the radar because of, what happened this first 2 nights. So why do you take the chance of bringing everybody there and then getting some rain, and then you got to dry the track, get some more racing in, then the rain picks up and only lasts a few minutes. It's just better to do this, and and hopefully tomorrow will be better.
Yeah, absolutely. Brad, checkered flags and black flags. What do you got for us this week?
Me, I've got a couple checkered flags. I'm going to go with Clint, and I'm going to give a checkered flag to Matt Shepard and all of the CMP big blocks for putting on the show that they did this past week. As well as I've got to send out, I'm going to give a double checkered. We're not just going to do a checkered, we're going to do a double checkered to the staff and the promoters and owners, everybody down at I-88 this weekend, because when we showed up, we heard that they were doing a fan appreciation night, and they wanted all the race cars to line up on the front stretch so the fans could see them. But little to our knowledge, that they just wanted us with the sprint car tour. So I have to give a big shout out to those guys, really putting our guys up in the spotlight and making these guys feel really cool and doing really something special for our guys. So I give them a double checkered. In my black flag this week, I hate to do it because I know all the improvements have been made and everything's going in the right direction, but there's just one aspect that I can't steer away from, and the safety aspect of it. But I've got to give a black flag to all those rocks that we were seeing pictures of over the weekend, this past weekend, from Outlaw that made their way into the grandstands. Because, man, I'll tell you, obviously you expect to get hit with some rocks and some debris, but man, when those rocks start getting bigger than the average size smartphone, that's scary.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit, Brad. My checkered flag for the weekend, Donnie Lawson. Boy, did that young man need a win, and he got a big one on Saturday at Woodhall, passing Josh Nebriga with one lap to go to get the modified win down at Woodhall. So my checkered flag going to Donnie Lawson. My black flag, the rear end of the 28P of Eldon Payne Jr., because Eldon Payne was on his way to a modified win on Friday night at Outlaw Speedway, and that rear end gave up with the caution came out with one to go. So my black flag for the weekend goes to whoever built that rear end, because all he needed, Clint, was one more lap out of that baby. Just one more lap.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, what happened? I thought that maybe, him and Eric Rudolph made contact under caution or something like that. I didn't know. I didn't see it. And then when they pushed him in, all you could smell was rear end oil, and it was no good.
Yep. So we'll step aside here. When we come back, we'll start diving into results and breaking down the weekend. We'll start with Outlaw Speedway. We'll get to Woodhall, Canandaigua, Ransomville, Fulton, I-88. We got results all over the place, and we'll talk about it here tonight on Turn 5 Live on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's?
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What? No!
Yep, and my dorky dad hat, and I'm going to do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up. See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time.
What?
No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Creekside Entertainment is the official DJ, photo booth, and uplighting company of Turn 5 Live and the Performance Motorsports Network. Stuart Ovens and his staff at Creekside Entertainment are professional and experienced with events of any type. Creekside Entertainment specializes in wedding packages that are affordable and fun, and they are ready to serve you with the most up-to-date music and karaoke selection. If you can sing it in the shower, you can come out and sing it with Creekside Entertainment. And don't forget about the Creekside Entertainment photo booth and uplighting service that will transform your wedding or party into an event the family will be talking about for years. Trust the entertainment company that racers trust. Call Stu at area code 315-481-9700 or visit them online at creeksideentertainmentdj.com. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter. Creekside Entertainment, division sponsor of the Black Rock Bandits in 2015.
Hi race fans, this is Kelly Hebing and you're listening to Turn 5 Live on PMN.
Welcome back, race fans, to Turn 5 Live here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Steven Ovens, Clint Miller, Brad Ovens joining you tonight. On tonight's show as we go into our backup plan tonight. No racing at Outlaw Speedway tonight for the Short Track Super Series. So now we will go into results and kind of into our regular program, so to speak, as we get ready to go into some results from the Outlaw Speedway, and that's exactly what we will do here. Friday night was Elm Chevrolet night at the racetrack, as the Crate Late Models had the night off due to the Rush Dirt Late Model Series event out at the Freedom Motorsports Park. And starting off with the friendly Ford and Dodge Big Block, Small Block Modifieds, 30 laps the distance, and boy, this guy's got a whole head of steam coming into tomorrow night's Short Track Super Series event. Eric Rudolph got the win on Friday night. He would prevail over Tyler Seary, Danny Johnson, who recovered from a flat tire, Steve Payne fourth, Derek Pozziadlo the top five. And guys, we're going to talk about D-Pods here in just a second. He is now 3 out of 4 top 5 finishes for 2016. Brady Foltz, Dave Rauscher, Jim LaRock, Justin Wright, and Joe Ginn rounded out your top 10. Eldon Payne Jr. dominated the race, led laps 1 to 29. The caution came out with 1 lap to go, and Payne's rear end went in the 28P, and he darted out to the high side of turn number 4. That handed the lead over to Eric Rudolph, and Rudolph would go on to victory, holding off Seary and Danny Johnson in a 1-lap dash. But before we go any further, heat race winners Donnie Lawson, Eldon Payne Jr., and Gary Tompkins. Guys, you were both in attendance on Friday. First, I want to start with Eric Rudolph. Here's a guy that comes into tomorrow night's Short Track Super Series event. He is the points leader, and he comes into tomorrow night with a whole head of steam. I mean, I know there's going to be a lot of strong cars there, but you've got to put Rudolph toward the top of your favorites with that extra test and tune on Friday night.
Well, for sure. He was there earlier this season. He had a strong run. He looked really good Friday night. I think that there was a couple times that he actually passed Payne, and the caution came out. And when they reverted back to the last completed lap, Payne got back to the front and actually used the line that Eric went around him with to slow Eric's efforts. But I think it was shaping up to be one outstanding finish.
Yeah, I think so too. And it was interesting because you had Payne Jr.'s big block up against Rudolph's small block. And, I really think that, the big block for Payne Jr., it appeared that was the way to go on Friday night because Rudolph could get there, but unless he had a lot of laps in a row to try and string together some momentum, he was really diamonding the corner pretty well, trying to get around Payne. But, on those short runs like we had at the end of the race, the big block power seemed to really be the way to go, Clint. I don't know how you felt about that.
It was Friday night.
Yeah, it's not always that way.
Right. But like you said, I think Eldon, the more laps they ran, the looser he got, and that's when Eric started to reel him in, and the short runs were definitely big block favored.
Yeah. Brad, I'll bring you in for this part as we'll go in to start talking about D-Pods. 3 out of 4 races so far in 2016, Pozziadlo's finished in the top 5. I talked to him earlier this week, and if that guy doesn't exude a whole bunch of confidence with the way they've started 2016, these guys, for as many times as he almost had a win in 2015, the way they've started 2016, Brad, you got to think that win will be coming not too long from now.
Oh, absolutely. With D-Pods and everybody going the way they're going, they're starting out with the same consistency they had last year. Obviously he had the horrendous luck that he had last year, blowing, 3 or 4 motors and rear ends and transmissions, and if it could blow up, it blew up. And I think those guys are certainly at Outlaw Speedway knocking on the door. All it's going to take is the right setup, the right track condition, and just Derek putting the car in the right place at the right time, which he's proven that he can do. So I don't think it's going to be long, and we're going to be seeing the 21P in Victory Lane.
And Clint, I know that Friday night was the first night that we got to see the handicap put into place.
Yep.
And 3 out of 4 fifth-place finishes or better. That's probably not going to put you at a great handicap, but I mean, still, even at that, I mean, these guys are running strong when other guys are blowing tires and getting caught up in other people's messes. I mean, they have just been there, and when these guys have struggled, they've been there to capitalize.
Yeah, steady Eddie. Model of consistency. I think only 2 cars drove by him Friday night, and that was Danny Johnson and Steve Payne. Danny had a flat tire early, came from the back to finish second, I believe. And Steve Payne had a flat tire in his heat, so he came from the back through the non-qualified cars. And I think those are the only ones that really drove by Derek. But he did a great job methodically picking his way up through the field and was running right there with Payne at the end for another great finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to the Crate Sportsman division, 21 cars on Friday night, 30 laps the distance. First Outlaw Speedway win for A.J. Lloyd on Friday night as he pulled down the win, pretty much kind of ran off with it toward the end of that race and got awfully lucky. He had a right side Nerf bar that was dragging the ground, and
well, if you don't use them, they won't fall off. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, all right.
You're going for a win. There's going to be contact, and I think he just got lucky that with the contact that he had, that it didn't knock it all the way off. I'm not sure what held it on there. It was flapping in the breeze. But,
yeah.
I don't know. I expected it to fall off. I really did.
Yeah. It was shocking because it lasted there for 10 to 12 laps there on that last green flag run there. So, yeah, definitely lucky on that one. Tommy Collins Jr., what a great run for the 713, coming home with a second-place finish. I mean, this is his first full year at Outlaw Speedway, and they've really been fine-tuning on that car, and he's been getting faster, and second place on Friday definitely showed that. The fastest car on the track, guys, and I don't think he had enough time left to really show what that 3 car could do. Jake Ginn had to settle for a third-place finish after starting in the back of the pack. He came home third. Mike Buchanan led early, finished 4th. Tim Guild was the top 5. Then it was Chris Fisher, Dale Welty. Boy, what a battle they had in the middle of that race, with Fisher coming out on top. Mike Jackson was 8th, Brent Ayers 9th, and Todd Hayward rounded out your top 10 finishers. Heat race winners were Chris Fisher, Lauren Lincoln, and Brent Ayers. Moving on now to the Farmers Insurance IMCA Modifieds. 11 cars in attendance, and this will be another topic tonight. A fan of ours in our fan forum for tonight said that they want to hear more about the IMCA cars and a little bit about the IMCA PA posse, and we'll talk about those guys here in just a little bit. But one topic we're going to get to is the car count of the IMCA Modifieds, because I think Friday night was kind of our first glance at what the true car count could look like on a regular night, and this is also quote unquote a regular night with the understanding that the Hill Speedway in Monroeton is not opened up yet, formerly known as Dunn Hill. So 11 cars in attendance, 20 laps was the distance. Sean Bruce got his first win at Outlaw since 2012, picked up the win, and that gave him a feature win in the last 4 decades. So it was a pretty cool stat there for Sean Bruce. Brandon Smith was right on him all race long. That was really a fun battle to watch. The IMCAs had a quick caution at the beginning and then strung off 20 laps to go green to checkered there. Brad Smith in the Lethal Chassis 76 was third. Rodney Morgan fourth, and Todd Stone rounded out the top 5. 6 through 10, Phil Yaw, Rich Karlnowski, Tony Harris, Scott Sebring, and Bruce Tinsley. Heat race winners Rodney Morgan, Brandon Smith, and Sean Bruce led the race, laps 1 to 20. Had a real good battle there with Brandon Smith with 5 to go. The two made contact. Smith backed out of it, let Bruce gather himself back up, and the two raced on for the final 5 laps, and Sean Bruce wasn't to be had on that night as he picked up the win. So got a lot more to talk about when we come back, guys. Clint, I think we'll touch on the IMCA Modifieds a little bit and kind of see what we're kind of projecting here is that class continues to kind of mold and form into what they're going to be for the 2016 season. We'll talk about that when we come back here on Turn 5 Live on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Max Dairy Bar is a proud supporter of Turn 5 Live and the Performance Motorsports Network. Opened in 1974, Max Dairy Bar has been a Penn Yan, Cayuga Lake, and Yates County staple, serving the best Hershey's hard ice cream. They also have soft serve ice cream, their weekly yogurt special, sorbet flavors, gluten-free options, frozen Greek yogurt, and non-dairy lemon ice. Don't forget about their tricky 18-hole putt-putt course that will test your skill to see if you have what it takes to be a champion. Max Dairy Bar and Mini Golf, located on State Route 14A, just south of the village of Penn Yan, right on the way to Black Rock Speedway on Friday nights. Visit them online at www.maxdairybar.com or Max Dairy Bar on Facebook and Twitter. Stop by Max Dairy Bar and tell them Turn 5 Live sent you.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Creekside Entertainment is the official DJ, photo booth, and uplighting company of Turn 5 Live and the Performance Motorsports Network. Stuart Ovens and his staff at Creekside Entertainment are professional and experienced with events of any type. Creekside Entertainment specializes in wedding packages that are affordable and fun, and they are ready to serve you with the most up-to-date music and karaoke selection. If you can sing it in the shower, you can come out and sing it with Creekside Entertainment. And don't forget about the Creekside Entertainment photo booth and uplighting service that will transform your wedding or party into an event the family will be talking about for years. Trust, the entertainment company that racers trust. Call Stu at area code 315-481-9700 or visit them online at creeksideentertainmentdj.com. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter. Creekside Entertainment, division sponsor of the Black Rock Bandits in 2015.
Hi, race fans. This is Nick Cooper, and you're listening to Turn 5 Live on PMN.
Welcome back, race fans, to Turn 5 Live here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Stephen Ovens, Clint Miller, Brad Ovens joining you on tonight's program. A little bit of a fan forum tonight. And one person chimed in tonight, wanted us to talk a little bit about the IMCA Modifieds. And we'll actually, a little bit later on, we'll dive into the Pennsylvania Posse, as they call themselves, of IMCA Modified drivers. But we were going through some of the results here, Clint, and we got to the IMCA Modifieds, and 11 cars on Friday night. It was really promising to see 18 cars, 21 cars. I think we had 21 or 24 for the Empire State Series event. But Friday night, we're down to 11 cars, and I know that Keith Lamphere was off at graduation, so you could maybe put him up and make it 12. Jake Maynard comes when he can from school, so maybe that makes it 13. But this conversation we've had, time and time again, and do you think that this is kind of the number around where we're going to land? With the thought that, the Hill hasn't even opened up yet. And when they do, they're going to be on Friday nights.
Well, I don't know how you cannot think that. I don't know how you cannot think that, Steve. You look at the last 3 or 4 years, since the IMCA started at Black Rock Speedway, we get 10, 11 cars all the time. It's around that average anyway. I won't say that it's 10, 11 cars. But, once in a while we'll get a big turnout, something special going on. There's always a full field. But as a regular Friday night, I would say 9 to 13 cars is probably your best average.
How about you, Brad?
I'm just going to think of one thing that may keep some cars around is the fact that Outlaw Speedway is going to be IMCA sanctioned, so you can run for national points. Whereas I don't believe the Hill Speedway is going to be IMCA sanctioned unless I'm behind the 8 ball and I haven't heard.
No,
Right.
not as a new returning track. No, they do have to sit this season out. But the question becomes, and maybe Clint, maybe this is what you're starting to get toward, is, these guys have other places that they can get their IMCA points. So is Outlaw having the sanction really that big a deal when they have other choices out there?
They've had the sanctioning for 4 years. Every year that it's been there, they've had the IMCA sanctioning, and it doesn't seem to get any better. It's not getting worse, but it's just not getting better. So I don't know. I don't think, like you said, Steve, I don't think that becomes as big of a factor as it used to.
So, again, this is the first week that the count has been down to somewhere around 11 cars. And, hopefully we can pick up a few more along the way. And, but it begs that question. And I think the reason it begs that question is because, we look at a place like Outlaw that has 7 divisions, and this is not me with my PR hat on. This is me with my race fan and media guy hat on, saying, you've got 7 divisions. We saw how well that worked out back in May when the Empire Super Sprints were there. And I know there was other factors that go into that. But, that's the one thing that I feel like I hear the most from people about, that particular track at Outlaw is how many divisions they have. And so, when you see the number of, 11 cars in attendance, it just starts to, rattle that drum a little bit of, and we've had this discussion actually probably, Clint, since we started the show.
Yeah.
Because and they have continued to be a staple every year. So, maybe there's more to it than what we can see on the surface. But I think it brings up that discussion of, now the hill is a little bit behind schedule on when they would have liked to have been open, but they're putting brand new clay down, and they have put some considerable funds into that racetrack, just as Tyler has at Outlaw, and they're trying to rebuild that place back up. So I think this is going to be an interesting season to watch over the course of the year. Once the hill gets up and going, how's that going to affect the Outlaw numbers? And if it does that then, make a promoter scratch their head just a little bit more for the upcoming season?
I think it does. Generally the car counts are better 5 Mile Point, I-88 in the IMCA class, and Dunn Speedway being around in that area closer to those tracks may be a deciding factor come next year or the year after.
Again, like I said, we had some folks chime in wanting to hear about a little bit of the PA posse with the IMCA modifieds, and I think this is an interesting group to look at because it ties right into this discussion, Clint. You've got guys like Keith Lamphere, Jake Maynard, Rodney Morgan, other guys that are down in that area. I believe, Harry Ely's from down in that neck of the woods too. So, you look at some of these drivers that are coming from that way. These guys are pretty potent competition. We've seen how well Maynard and Lamphere ran together in the top 5 the week before. Now you see a guy like Sean Bruce come out and get his first win since 2012. And then you've got guys like Brandon Smith, Brad Smith, that you throw into that mix. Even though the car count was 11 cars on Friday night, it was still a really great race up front. And these guys were battling a slick track, which is got to be the hardest for these guys, Clint, no pun intended, because of their hard tires. That's got to be the toughest track conditions for those guys to try and get a grip on when the track was dark, black, slick like it was the other night.
Boy, the other night, Carl and I had to go down and talk to Tim Sebring, and I was kind of messing around with the IMCA tires they had in the trailer, and they're harder than I even envisioned. So you put a hard tire on that hard track like that hard surface, it just is hard to hook up, and it makes for hard racing, because they got young kids in this class that, they're not exactly maybe experienced in this type of car, so a lot of the cautions are generally around those guys. I'm not going to say it's only those guys, but it has a tendency to make a bad show for the racing that's going on up front. Like 2 weeks ago when it was cut to 15 laps, Karnowski was in front, but Lamphere, Maynard, Brad Smith, those guys put on a heck of a show in the top 5. But you get past that top 5, and Phil Yaw has struggled a little bit. He's topped his points, but he hasn't had the finishes that he's wanted. And when it's the same guys causing the cautions, it makes it tough for the fans to watch, and it hurts the guys that are running good and race good together.
And based on some feedback that I heard from, I guess they had a drivers' meeting on Friday night, and one person that I spoke to, and again, this is just one person. It's not by any means a poll of 100 people that were in attendance of the meeting, but one person I talked to said that when the division was spoken to about the racing the week before, the argument from the drivers always goes back to the track conditions, and I think, my opinion, watching it from the announcer's booth, is those cars are so, they are so hard to grip the track, and yes, it's because the track is slick, but honestly, we're not racing in central Pennsylvania. You're not going to have heavy, tacky, fast, hardly ever, unless we have a big rainstorm or we overwater the track. And so knowing that those cars, it's so easy to go over the line, and you talk to IMCA drivers and they tell you, it's so easy to step over the line, and once you've stepped over the line, it's really hard to come back from. I mean, how many times, Clint, have we seen those cars, somebody gets out of shape, and they have to use up 3 or 4 lanes to gather it back in, because it's, if you lose a little, you lose a ton when it comes to trying to make the corner with the IMCA car.
Yeah, well, yeah, and if you have your car set up tight because obviously you're having trouble getting bite to the track, and you back it into the corner just as hard as you can, you about come to a stop. And what that does is that bottlenecks everybody up behind you. And now you've got not only you in 5th place backing it into the corner, but you got 6th, 7th, and 8th that are getting all squirrely trying to keep from running over each other, and then you got the guy at the end of that spinning out because he wants to miss everything.
I think the racing we saw on Friday, you had that quick caution, and then they ran them straight through. I hope we can see more of that, because these cars can really put on a show. We've seen them do it. But it's just been wild that, how every other week it seems to change, Clint. Like one week, it's a phenomenal show. The next week, it's not at all a banner night. The following week, we can have a quick caution and run straight through. I just hope that at some point as the season settles in, that we can consistently see the good shows and limit some of those bad shows that we're seeing.
And real quick, in all fairness, they put on a 1 caution show, whereas most of the other classes had their caution-filled night. And you look at Phil Yaw. I know we got to go to break here real quick, but you talk about Phil Yaw. He's not happy with his finishes, but he's right around 5th or 6th every week, and I think he's even got a 2nd or a 3rd, and he finds himself tops in points. So I think it just goes to show you how tight the racing is.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like I said, I hope that we will see more of that over the course of the season, and they continue to put on a great show. We'll step aside here. When we come back, we've still got a couple of features of street stocks to talk about. 4 cylinders, Winter Circle Deli Bandits had a first-time winner on Friday night. We'll tell you who it was and how they did it. Coming up next here on Turn 5 Live on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speed, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
So when you get to the corner of Smith and Orchard, you're going to want to take a
You
left.
are not going to
then
believe
what you're
this.
going to do is turn
Marcy
into Marcy
and Brad
Avenue
just broke up,
and go past
and
the
apparently
first 3
she's
lights,
happy
and
about
then take
it.
the next left.
I don't really
Then
think
drive
she's
5 more
happy,
blocks,
but
and you should be
who am
there.
I to judge, right?
Park
anyway,
on the right.
That's
I'll
what
see
I
you
heard
later
last
tonight.
night.
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Creekside Entertainment is the official DJ, photo booth, and uplighting company of Turn 5 Live and the Performance Motorsports Network. Stuart Ovens and his staff at Creekside Entertainment are professional and experienced with events of any type. Creekside Entertainment specializes in wedding packages that are affordable and fun, and they are ready to serve you with the most up-to-date music and karaoke selection. If you can sing it in the shower, you can come out and sing it with Creekside Entertainment. And don't forget forget about the Creekside Entertainment photo booth and uplighting service that will transform your wedding or party into an event the family will be talking about for years. Trust the entertainment company that racers trust. Call Stu at area code 315-481-9700 or visit them online at creeksideentertainmentdj.com. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter. Creekside Entertainment, division sponsor of the Black Rock Bandits in 2015.
Hi, race fans. This is the voice, Shane Andrews of the Big Block Modified Super Dirt Car Series, and you're listening to Turn 5 Live on PMN.
Shano bringing us back from commercial here on Turn 5 Live on the Performance Motorsports Network. Happy you've tuned in with us here tonight on a Tuesday night that we didn't exactly expect to be talking race results and dirt track racing. We thought we'd be talking live action on the track. Mother Nature postponing the Ultimate Outlaw 50 for the Bob Hilbert Sportswear Short Track Super Series Halmar International North Region, which will take place now tomorrow night, Wednesday night at 7 p.m. At the Outlaw Speedway. So be sure to check that out. Pits will open somewhere around 4 o'clock, and if I have to guess, they will probably open even a little bit sooner than that, knowing that we'll have a lot of cars in attendance tomorrow night at Outlaw. So scheduled time, 4 p.m. Keep abreast of that when you arrive at the racetrack. I know we'll have a lot of haulers to move in. Grandstands opening up at 5 o'clock tomorrow night. Pit passes, $35. General admission, $20 for ages 13 and up. Senior citizens, $18. And children 12 and under, free. Free camping as well. And should be a fantastic night at Outlaw Speedway. The grounds look fantastic. And for a lot of folks that are coming in for the show tomorrow, it'll be their first opportunity to check out the property at Outlaw Speedway, so that should be a whole lot of fun. Short Track Super Series Modifieds on the schedule. Grit Crate Sportsman on the schedule as well for another one of their American Racer Tour events. You've also got the Fight Night Street Stock Series, and this will actually, Clint, this will actually be their first feature of 2016, as they weren't able to get the feature in at Thunder Mountain. So that should make things pretty interesting.
Well, I, for one, can't wait.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. How's the old 82 coming along?
She's ready to rip.
All right.
We had a long night last night. There, some stuff that I didn't remember. That what the car actually looked like. We pulled it out from underneath the tarp, and I went, "Oh my god!" and there was strong consideration of scrapping the whole idea, but we worked hard and tirelessly, and Tracy Dunn, every time I said something on the internet, Tracy Dunn would text me and say, "I didn't tell you to stop working on that car yet." So he kept me motivated and going, and about 11 o'clock, me and JB wrapped it up, and there was some check the fluid stuff, little stuff, but all the big stuff's done, and Carl's ready to hit the track with it and see what it is.
Very good. Well, talking street stocks, we've got Creekside Entertainment street stocks, double features from Friday night. And picking up the win in the makeup feature, 19 cars took the green flag. This was interesting. Chuck Winslow, I feel like every time the street stocks have some form of a makeup feature, Clint, Chuck Winslow either wins the day race or the nightcap, one of the two. I don't know what it is. I've got to research that out. I got to vet that out to see if that actually sticks to the wall. But I feel like it's pretty accurate. Usually, there's a couple things you can count on. Number one, Chuck Winslow typically wins on a makeup feature type of night. And number two, Nate Daggett will usually win free general admission night. Those are just two things that you always come to expect during the race season. So Winslow got the win. Gene Ballmer was second, who blew a tire on the front stretch, taking the checkered flag, blew the right rear quarter panel all to smithereens on the front stretch. Nate Daggett lost, and I don't know, Clint or Brad, if you guys were pit side to see, but something let loose on the left front of Nate's car. I don't know if that would have been an A-frame or what that was, but the left front tire was tipping in pretty good.
Yeah, I believe it was an A-frame, and that is absolutely the worst place to do it. Right, coming to the checkered flag with, guys bearing down on you because he was right in the middle of a big pack of cars. It just bad timing. They played pinball with him there a little bit, and but luckily, he was able to get her done and
it lasted just long enough.
Yeah, like you're right. You're absolutely right. It was a 20-lap A-frame.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And luckily the damage wasn't bad enough where they were able to make the second feature.
CJ Guerri came home fourth. Jared Hill rebounded to a top 5 finish. Had a fast car there on Friday night. 6 through 10, Laverne Knickerbocker, J.J. Kreidler, Jeremy Petrobowski, Carl Cleveland, and Quinn Sutherland. You had 2 cars that were not able to come back to run that feature, and then a disqualification, the 83T of Rich Sharpstein, and that was quite a heated dispute out on the track right to start the night off. Cars going 3 wide into the corner, and frankly, I did not see contact. I know they were 3 wide in the corner, but everybody seemed to really give each other all the room they needed, and I guess Mr. Sharpstein felt differently, and he took after the CJ1 car, drove right into the side of him, drove him into the infield, and then continued to drive into the car. And that would bring out the black flag, and in fact, they told him to put it on the trailer for the rest of the night. So kind of an unfortunate deal there. And like I said, again, those guys were 3 wide, but, everybody really seemed to be kind of respecting each other's lanes, and so I thought that was kind of an unfortunate deal, because certainly that 83T is a very fast car, and he would have had a great opportunity to run well in the second feature. But
yeah, it's too bad, because you got a guy that comes in, like you say, he's got a fast car, and he comes off on a one-off deal, and the only thing really bad about it is he's trying to take out a guy that's running for a championship, and that's a real bummer about it, because it was just a racing deal. CJ's not afraid to do some contact, but he wouldn't ever do it to take anybody out. And like you said, it was 3 wide. I think Vern Knickerbocker was on the bottom, CJ was in the middle, and Sharpstein was on top. And I think it was just an unfortunate circumstance.
With you on that one for sure. Moving on to the regularly scheduled event, Laverne Knickerbocker led laps 1 to 20 to get his first win of the season. Jeremy Petrobowski finished second, and he was driving Jason Gleason's 24 car. Didn't realize that until toward the end of the night, but Petrobowski having problems on his T1 car, and he would have an issue that was terminal, that they couldn't bring it on Friday. So he jumps in the 24 HRS car, brought it home second. Tyler Yeagle rebounded from a flat tire to finish third. CJ Guerri fourth again, strong and steady there in the top 5. Bob Buno rounded out the top 5. Then it was Nate Daggett, Jared Hill, the double deuce coupe, Carl Cleveland, J.J. Kreidler, and Chuck Winslow rounding out the top 10 finishers. And something else that happened in that regularly scheduled feature, and something that I thought would be interesting for us to kind of bat around, is there were some folks, and Clint, you'll have good perspective as a crew member on a team yourself. A couple folks a little Twitter-pated about the issue of the lead weight falling off Jason Smart's number 8 car. It happened before the green flag flew, and in talking to some folks on the officiating staff, they were not under the impression, when the call came from the safety crew, I guess, is there was no, they didn't have a number on the lead weight, and afterwards, after the race had already started, they had figured out where it had come from. So with that being said, nothing was really done, and the car that the weight fell off of continued to race and ended up finishing the race and would be disqualified afterwards once it was identified that it was their lead weight. So I wanted to clear that up tonight because, I don't think that in that case, with such a safety concern when it comes to lead weights falling off of race cars, I mean, we've seen that from dirt track all the way up to NASCAR. I don't think anybody would, knowingly let a car out there where the weights were falling off. So I wanted to clear that up tonight. And, in that situation, Clint, I don't know what you would do. Would you, even though the green flag hasn't come out, do you send the car to the pits and give them a couple laps to look it over and make sure nothing else is going to come off? Is it just an automatic DQ? I mean, it was kind of an interesting situation. I mean, they couldn't identify it anyway, but if you could identify it, I mean, being that the green flag hadn't come out yet, I'm not sure what the best course of action really would be.
You're absolutely right. It's one of those things that you never ever see happen.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, I don't know how come they couldn't find out what car it came off of right when they found the weight, and then a few laps into the race, then they found out whose it was. I don't know how that came about. But my opinion is weight falls off, automatic disqualification. You shouldn't get a couple laps to make it right because it's a safety thing. That is a definite safety thing, and it could go through a driver's window, it could go through a window net, it could kick up into the stands. Granted, they're heavy, but still there's that chance.
Yeah.
And but if it comes up again and the weight falls off before the race starts and they find out whose it is, I definitely think that they shouldn't let the guy start the race because, A, for his benefit, he's not going to be tearing up his car for no reason. And B, for everybody else's benefit, that, say this guy gets in an accident, takes out 4 or 5 cars, that he wouldn't have been there, if the weight didn't fall out of the car.
Yeah.
And I remember last year, guys, when Laverne Knickerbocker ended up winning the feature, lost the lead weight with about 5 laps to go. That thing looked like a Frisbee going up towards turn 3 and landed in the middle of turns 3 and 4. I mean, it was spinning so fast, it literally looked like a white Frisbee flying up there. So when we found that at the end of the race, I mean, those things can go flying. Those cars are slamming, banging around, and it's a 30, 40, 50-pound weight that, or maybe not quite that much, but still, it's a heavy weight that goes flying like a Frisbee.
Yeah, no, you're right on. You're dead on, Brad. And
Yep.
And the interesting thing is the other comment that came out of that incident on Friday night, guys, is I heard more and more people, and I think this is relatively concerning. More and more people said, well, why would I paint my number on? I'll paint somebody else's number on there. And I know that some people say that in a joking manner, but why would you put your number on there? If it falls off and it's got your number, they're going to know it's you.
Well,
that's a little bit of a conundrum.
Well, it's not, because it should be checked. It should be on a tech list. Those things with your weight on your car should have numbers on them, and they should be looked at before the racing even starts.
You're proposing a pre-race check every week.
Well, every week is tough, but you at least need to do it.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get into some more. We've got Woodhull results to talk about. We'll talk about Canandaigua, Ransomville, Fulton. And there's some interesting controversy over Shangri-La 2 as well, Clint. Before we get out of here tonight, we'll talk a little tar car action, or maybe lack of action this weekend. We'll get into that later here on Turn 5 Live on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin' Street? Girlin' Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Here's an important message from RAD and this station.
Hi, this is Bob Sheehan from Blues Traveler for RAD, recording artists against drunk driving. I like to party just as much as the next guy, maybe even more, but the one thing I won't do after I've had a few is get in the car and drive. Don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives and so should you.
Motorsports sales professionals. Performance Motorsports is looking to build a team of experienced media sales professionals to represent our programming to the industry's top companies, magazines, and racing series. If you have motorsports sales or marketing experience, know how to work with agencies, understand social media, and are incredibly creative when it comes to working with clients and promotions, then we want to hear from you. Top performers are richly rewarded. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444, or email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Hi, race fans. This is Brett Deo, and you're listening to Turn 5 Live on PMN.
Brett Deo bringing us back from commercial break. Brett Deo in the house. So to speak.
He's
somewhere
in Yates County.
He is somewhere in Yates, possibly even Schuyler County. I'm not sure if they're got accommodations in Penn Yan or Watkins Glen. I know the last time they were up to check out the action at Dundee, I think they were accommodating things down at the fabulous Harbor Hotel in Watkins Glen.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's probably where they're at.
So, and I do know that that Brett and his wife Heather, they do enjoy the fact that we're located right in the middle of wine country. So, I do remember that from their last trip up this way. So, yeah. So again, if you just tuning in with us tonight, Short Track Super Series Ultimate Outlaw 50 rescheduled for tomorrow night, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. at the Outlaw Speedway Short Track Super Series in town for their North Region event, 4th round of the Halmar International North Region. You've also got the Grit Crate Sportsman Fight Night Street Stock All-Star Series, as well as the 4-banger shootout. $600 to win, $300 for second. And again, Outlaw Speedway, Woodhall Raceway rules. Yes, you must have a fuel cell in your car. Yes, you've got to have a fuel cell in your car. With this 4-banger shootout, I wish I could compile a list of some of the questions that have come in. And sometimes, Clint, you get a question and it just catches you off guard. And you're just like, hold on, I got to set my phone down and just take a second before I respond. Yeah, so it is Outlaw Woodhall rules. And speaking of four cylinders and the four banger shootout, we'll get into the results from Friday night in the four cylinder division. Ray Heyer crossed the line first, however, was disqualified in post race tech for having a 1-inch spacer on the carburetor. And I don't know, Clint, if you'll have much knowledge on this with the four-cylinder division or not. But as it was described to me at Woodhall on Saturday, because I started asking around after I had realized I found out late on Friday night about the disqualification. So I started asking about this spacer on the carburetor, and a lot of guys said that it was kind of a it was a little bit of a performance advantage. Some guys kind of scoffed it off and didn't feel that it was a huge advantage. Anything that you can add to this carburetor spacer?
All I know is it's a little bit of a horsepower advantage. Is it enough to make a difference? I don't know. I really don't know. I can't answer you honestly. I've never been much into the motor aspect, and that's something like we've talked about before with the small blocks and big blocks, and some small blocks are bigger than a big block, and I don't understand any of that.
Yeah. Well, so the thing that I learned over the weekend is that it is not a part of the Outlaw Speedway rule book, but it is part of the Woodhall rule book. And I think the disqualification on Friday opened a lot of guys' eyes that run both places, because I'm sure there's more cars out there, and in talking to the guys that own Ray Heyer's car, and actually having a conversation with Ray himself, they're more than confident that there's more guys that have the spacer that probably just assumed that the rule book was the same as last year and didn't even realize and are running that spacer. Now Ray's spacer on that carburetor on the 4D Friday night was a 1/2 inch instead of a 1-inch spacer, which you're allowed at Woodhall. Now, the interesting part becomes is if you take a look at outlawspeedwayllc.com and go to the pit news section of the website, there is a tech update for the four cylinders saying we are now allowing a 1-inch spacer if you're running a 4412 carburetor. This is to bring our rules in alignment with Woodhall Raceway. Now, that's interesting because of what Ray Heyer was disqualified for on Friday night. And over the course of the next couple of days, between tomorrow's event and Friday, I am expecting, and I haven't talked to the players involved as far as the officiating staff, but I would expect that we're probably going to see that disqualification get turned around. And the reason for that is because they're very quick to add this as a part of the rules. Now, Clint, there's going to be people on both sides of the fence on this one, because on Friday night during the race, it was not part of the rules. So, as acting accordingly with the rules on Friday night, he was disqualified because it was against the rules. My question is, speaking as a former driver myself, it would be a tough pill to swallow to get disqualified for something on Friday that by Monday, Tuesday was now legal in the rule book. What is your thought there?
Same thing. Man, I would be torqued off if, it boggles my mind that it would even be, not be brought up, but that it would be brought up the next day. I mean, what are people supposed to think? Okay, so it's legal now, so why is he still disqualified if it's legal now?
Right.
Well, I think you guys kind of have to look at it in the sense of, let's kind of look at it away from the racing aspect. Let's say a vehicle on the road, say December 31st, 2016, there's New York State doesn't allows no tinting on the window, doesn't allow you to have any tint on your car windows. January 1st, 2017, they allow up to, we'll say, 35% on your back windows. If you have 35% on your back windows on December 31st in 2016, you get pulled over, it's still illegal to have them on your windows that day. You know, just because it's going legal the next day, or just because they make it legal the next day, doesn't make it right for you having it the day that it wasn't legal.
But chances are, Brad, is they're gonna post something.
But they're not going to reverse that.
No, but they're gonna post something in September, October that says, as of January 1st, 2017, X amount window tinting will no longer be legal in New York State. They're not going to come and say on December 3rd or on January 1st and say that's not legal anymore without giving you some sort of warning.
Well, but it's the same concept though. Whether you have warning about it or not, it's the same concept. Just because Friday it's illegal and then Saturday it's legal doesn't mean that, oh, well, I had it on Friday and now that's legal on Saturday, I'm legal on Friday because you weren't legal. It's still one of those things that it was illegal on Friday, but now it's not illegal.
Now, see, I disagree with you, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what they should have done was, okay, you're illegal on Friday. That's going to be our final call. I don't think that they should reverse it. You know, like Steve says, maybe he's suspecting it's going to happen. But what I think they should say is, as of July 1st, that spacer will now be legal in our 4-cylinder class.
Yeah, you know, that's an interesting way to look at it, Clint. I think there's a couple approaches there. I mean, one...
Yeah, I don't think Brad's wrong.
No, I think Brad actually, and I'm glad you spoke up, Brad, because that's the other side to the argument, and it's not wrong, and you know, neither is really wrong or right. It's all dependent on what the officials decide they're going to do. But I think from the racer side of it, and I think maybe that's where Clint's coming from on this one, is if it's going to be illegal on Friday night, and you're going to take a win away from me, how can you make it legal the very next day? You know, if it was good on this day, why was it not good on that day? If you're going to immediately change it. Now, I guess where I would add some too, if you are going to disqualify the guy from the feature and you want to change that rule, if you're going to keep the disqualification, then you've got to wait until the end of the season to put that rule in. Because, you know, as far as I'm concerned, as far as fair competition and going by the rule book goes, I mean, I don't know that it's fair to make a rule change in the middle of the season and still penalize somebody for a rule that you've now changed.
Yeah, but it's still that double you're asking for double jeopardy. You're asking, you know, if they hadn't have changed the rule, he still would have been illegal. Correct. Now that they've changed the rule, I mean, he was still illegal. I mean, it doesn't change the fact that what he was running was illegal that night. You know, so I can see where everybody's coming from of, you know, ouch, that kind of hurts that they, you know, they said what I was running was illegal, and then the next day all of a sudden now it's legal. But, you know, at the same point, you have to go by the rule book the day of. You know, you can't jump around and say, oh, well, you know, 2 weeks down the road or 2 weeks ago I was illegal, but now it was legal. You know, I want my points, or what are you going to do for me? Or, you know, I don't like the fact that you did that. I mean, it's kind of a race by race thing. You know, you have to make sure you're legal by the rule book, and if it's not in the rule book, then it's probably in the gray area. And if it's in the gray area, you run that risk of getting caught with it and being spanked.
Yeah, I think again, and I know we got to go to break, but I think that you're right, Brad. On you're illegal, and that's it. But adding the rule the day after is where I have the problem. Yeah,
and I can certainly agree. Obviously, I've been behind the wheel myself, and that would probably upset me too. But you know, it's a tough spot to be in. I'm glad I'm not in it.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you on that. Congratulations again to Austin Labar. He picked up the Winner's Circle Deli Bandit feature win on Friday night. Last lap, last corner pass for the win. What a way to start the action off there on Friday night. So congratulations to Austin Labar and his sister Cheyenne, the whole family that puts effort into that 42 car. First career win at Outlaw Speedway. We're going to step aside here when we come back. It's time to go down to the Woodhall Raceway down in Steubenton County. We'll talk Woodhall and everything down at New York's Toughest Bull Ring next here on Turn 5 Live on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading materials supplier to the racing industry. Now they're also an official motorsports content partner of Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for all their raw materials, such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much, much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is your number one source for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the road to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com and SRI-supplies.com. You can also find them on Facebook at Stock Car Steel and Aluminum, or call either company toll-free at 1-888-752-7272.
Creekside Entertainment is the official DJ, photo booth, and uplighting company of Turn 5 Live and the Performance Motorsports Network. Stuart Ovens and his staff at Creekside Entertainment are professional and experienced with events of any type. Creekside Entertainment specializes in wedding packages that are affordable and fun, and they are ready to serve you with the most up-to-date music and karaoke selection. If you can sing it in the shower, you can come out and sing it with Creekside Entertainment. And don't forget about the Creekside Entertainment photo booth and uplighting service that will transform your wedding or party into an event the family will be talking about for years. Trust the entertainment company that racers trust. Call Stu at area code 315-481-9700 or visit them online at creeksideentertainmentdj.com. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter. Creekside Entertainment, division sponsor of the Black Rock Bandits in 2015.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Hi, race fans. This is Mills Family Racing, and you're listening to Turn 5 Live on PMN.
Welcome back, race fans, to Turn 5 Live here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Stephen Ovens, Clint Miller, Brad Ovens joining you on Turn 5 tonight. And kind of a fan forum. We've had some people throwing some topics at us here tonight. And, guys, I just had the most recent one tossed out our way, coming from Kim on the Turn 5 Live page, saying, I'm really curious about opinions regarding draw, redraw versus the handicap. And we've been down this road before, but, you know, being that we're opening up to the fan forum here, you know, let's dive into that one, Clint. I always like to start with you. So draw, redraw versus handicap. Where are you at? And has your opinion on this ever changed?
My opinion on this has never changed, and I am totally for handicapping.
All right.
I think it makes a better race when your hot shoe has to come from 16th, 17th place and make it up through the traffic to be able to battle the lead, probably more times than not, towards the end of the race, just makes a better show. Like, for instance, Billy Van Pelt, has the Tyler Seary luck of the draw and draws top 2 or 3 every time. And at Woodhall, Billy Van Pelt on the pole at Woodhall is nearly unbeatable. I mean, there's good racing from second on back, but generally there's not good racing for the lead.
Does your opinion of draw-redraw change if a track has in place the you won the week before so you can start no better than 12th?
No, because
it only affects the winner.
Right, exactly. And what if you have a guy that draws the pole, he's an okay runner, draws the pole, happens to win that night because some of the hot shoes get tangled up, and now you're putting him, starting 12th, and he may not be the guy that can come up through the up through traffic to get back to challenge for the lead, coming from 12th place.
How about you, Brad?
I'm definitely a fan of the handicap for the same reason, as Clint. I like to see the guys that run consistently strong each week come up through the pack, have to pass cars. I think it makes the racing a lot better. And I think at the same time, it gives the guys that maybe fin the back of the pack a little more experience racing with cars around them and cars passing them, or just racing in the front of the pack. I think you can learn a lot from racing up front in clean space versus always having to run back in the dirty air, we'll call it.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, not to interrupt you, Steve. I just
go ahead.
Popped into my mind. I am a huge Matt Shepard supporter. I've been since day one. Everybody knows that. But I, as his number one fan, do not want to see him starting on the pole every week. I just don't want to do it. It makes for terrible racing, and I think after a period of time, you're going to start losing fans because of it.
Well, I'm not just playing devil's advocate here, but I really think that here's a couple of points that I would add into this. And the reason that I add this in is because between Friday night's show at Outlaw, tomorrow night's show now, people not understanding that these are all series or special races and that they're all draw-redraw. But people that have asked about coming to Run It Outlaw now that we're 3 or 4 weeks into the season, and people see that the track is stable, is paying out what they advertise they're going to pay out. Like we know that there's guys that haven't been to Outlaw yet because they wanted to wait and see what happened, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. I know a lot of guys that do that, but for some people that haven't come to Outlaw yet, they have emailed or messaged in with questions saying, what's your guys' format if I come on a one-off basis, or if I can come for the next 2 Fridays, with the handicap process, what am I looking at? And when you explain the process to them, an outsider that comes in for the first time, their handicap is just like having 3 wins in a row. And they're going to start all the way in the back. And it's their first time there. And when some drivers hear that, they completely shut down and they're not going to come to your racetrack. So that's one thing that I don't like about the handicap. I'm with you guys on the fact that I want to see the guys that have kicked butt for the last 3 weeks. Yes, I want them to come from the back. So in that regard, I do like handicapping. The one thing that I'm noticing, and maybe it's now because of working as a track PR person and fielding some of these types of questions, is now I look at it and I'm like, oh, like that's another 2 or 3 cars that we could have had on Friday night that didn't even bother to come out because they knew, regardless of what they drew and where they finished in their heat race, they're going to be coming from 16th to 18th position at best.
Yeah, but on the other hand of that, what if Billy Decker comes down. He wants to run a couple times, and he draws the pole and runs away with it and wins. I mean, how fair is that for the guys that go there every week that may not draw as well?
Well, that is the discussion, isn't it, Clint?
It is. It actually
That is the discussion. And I guess I'd have to look through my sheets to vet it out, but I don't know that there's been anybody at Woodhall so far this season that has just like, they've drawn the pole every week, or they have drawn top 2 every week. I guess I would have to check with the score, the Kim in charge of the draw and everything. I don't know if anybody has been that way so far this season. It'd be interesting to look that up. I could certainly look that up through my notes here, but boy, that's a topic that anytime somebody brings it up, Clint, I mean, that's a really good discussion, because you're either on one side or the other. There's no real in the middle.
No. You either like it or you hate it.
Yeah. And from the side of the from the point of view of guys that do run there every week and are loyal to a track, you want to be repaid for that loyalty. So I definitely get that part, no doubt about it. So that was an interesting topic. Thanks, Kim, for sending that in. The draw redraw,
Kim.
The draw redraw is always a hot topic. And, maybe we'll even have to turn that into a Turn 5 roundtable for Race Chaser Online. That would be pretty interesting, because I bet that would really get people on the internet fired up about, being on one side or the other. But moving on to the Woodhall Raceway results that we have here. It was quite a night. RLB trucking night, as well as Riverfront Collision presented the racing action on Saturday night, and the modifieds coming home with the win. Boy, did he need a win. Donnie Lawson destroyed a car on Friday night at Outlaw Speedway when he got turned around facing the wrong direction right under the flag stand, and Gary Tompkins come through, and Gary couldn't see him there, had nowhere to go. Cleaned out the right side of Lawson's car, took out the rear end, and I'm sure an axle on the right rear of Tompkins' number 84. And, after that, I talked to Don Lawson on Saturday before the races, and they said, it's definitely got the frame. We're gonna take it up to Lincoln's and see what Lauren can do with it, but they said it's in pretty rough shape. And then to turn around and get the win in what was an exciting race between Lawson and Josh Nabriga. Clint, I know that Josh is a guy that you've followed over the last couple of years, and his progress in the modified. He was working the outside, and Clint, you'll have to, I'm still kind of getting my bearings down at Woodhall. I don't know if the outside is where Josh likes to run, but he was committed to the outside on Saturday night. Nothing was going to move that 22 car from the cushion.
Well, I've seen him run the top in a lot, and starting with the amateurs, he always used to run the top. I mean, the bottom's always a popular place, but there's very few guys that can make the top work on a regular basis, and sometimes that there's no top there. But if it's there, Josh is going to find it eventually.
Yeah, he worked the top. He got around Dylan Groover, who led early. And I'll tell you, for a sophomore driver, Dylan is still learning, still gaining on that 12X car. He's going to get his win this season. It's going to come. He started on the pole Saturday night, and I thought maybe that was going to be his opportunity to cash in. But Nabriga got by for the lead about lap 10. And then as the white flag was being waved in the air, Donnie Lawson, who had worked the bottom side, and Donnie admitted right in victory lane, he goes, all the guys know I love to run the bottom. I can't believe they let me run down there. But, it's always dependent on where your car's fast and where it isn't. And so Donnie Lawson picked up the win. there on Saturday night. Josh Nabriga was second, Billy Van Pelt third, Dylan Groover fourth, and BMAC, Boyd McTavish, rounded out the top 5. 6 through 10 was Eric Fisher, Steve Hartman Sr., Mike Bills, Corey Costa, and Russell Morseman, the top 10. Lawson and Dave DuBois were your heat race winners there on Saturday night. We'll step aside here. When we come back, we'll go through all the rest of the results from the Woodhall Raceway. We'll talk Chemung, Shangri-La. We'll have Brad give us some updates on sprint car results from the weekend, and then we'll close out tonight's show. Glad you tuned in with us here on Turn 5 Live on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's?
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What? No!
Yep, and my dorky dad hat, and I'm gonna do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up. See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time.
What? No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
If you're a gearhead and you just can't get enough of your favorite motorsports on that channel on the cable, or you look at that Guy network and you just go, what does that have to do with me? We have the answer. Performance Motorsports Network. Right here on the internet. The best cruise and tunes, the best in motorsports programming, and the best shows. We have opinionated hosts, and we like it that way. If you want to get involved, if you want to bench race, be listening for information coming up soon right here on this channel, the Performance Motorsports Network, your source for motorsports.
Hi race fans, this is Mel Thomas from Thomas Video, and you're listening to Turn 5 Live on PMN.
Welcome back, race fans, to Turn 5 Live here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Stephen Ovens, Clint Miller, Brad Ovens joining you on the program here tonight, and we were talking about that four-cylinder deal on Friday night, and Brad, you might be right, my friend. We're getting some information coming in about that. The website, like we were talking about, has been updated, that they are going to now allow a 1-inch spacer if you're running a 4412 carburetor on the four cylinders, and that brings the rules in alignment with Woodhall Raceway. And as it stands right now, guys, Clint, Brad was right on. It doesn't sound like anything is gonna be changed on that.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, is like what Brad said. As long as they don't change that rule, not change the rule, but change the Friday is illegal. Don't renege on that. Go forward, but you can't renege on disqualifying Ray Heyer on Friday night.
Yeah. Yep. So, well, I know that's going to be, when we were talking about it here during the commercial break too, is I know that's going to be a hot button topic in the pit area tomorrow night, and I imagine it will be on Friday night as well. So, certainly I'll be keeping my ear to the ground, and I know Clint will be doing the same over in the pit area. So we'll see what transpires there. But interesting development there for sure. I'll be honest. I expected to see that get turned around, but hey, what are you going to do? Well, it's a rule one day and it's not the next. So it's it's interesting. Moving on with the Woodhull Raceway results from Saturday night. Napa Crate Sportsman, 21 cars in attendance, 25 laps the distance, and he ran out of laps on Friday night at Outlaw, but now he certainly made it up on Saturday night. Jake Ginn got the win over Dayton Brewer on Saturday night. And yes, that Dayton Brewer, young driver in the 17 car, Ginn ended up taking the lead away from Mike Jackson with 5 to go. And what a battle that was. Ginn tracked Jackson down. I really thought that was Mike Jackson's race to win. He's been so close at Woodhull this season. He's actually been close at Outlaw, too. And I thought that was going to be Mike's race on Saturday. But then here comes this 3-car. And just like he did Friday at Outlaw, Clint, he was working the outside. And then eventually Jackson slipped up and Ginn pounced and then took it to the bottom lane and got by Jackson to take the lead. And Ginn would go on to the win. Dayton Brewer came on late, was in the top 5, and then just started picking them off one after another with about 5 to go. And Dayton Brewer came home second. Mike Jackson was third. Tim Guild, who started on the front row, was fourth, and Stacy Jackson the top 5. 6 through 10, Stevie Hartman the third. Shout out to that young driver in the 15 car right there. Both him and Dayton Brewer, boy, did they put on a show for the young driver contingent there on Saturday night. Chris Doherty started 12th, only made it up to 7th. It was tough sledding on Saturday night. Some guys hit the setup just right, some guys didn't, and it was tough with Doherty trying to get his 22JZ up and up through the field there. Josh Kesey, Brandon Martin, and David Mayo rounded out the top 10. Jake Ginn, Chris Doherty, Steve Hartman the third were your heat race winners. 360 late models, the Scott Dennison Memorial, the 12th running of the Scott Dennison Memorial, and picking up his second win of the season and his second win in the Scott Dennison Memorial was Bruce Miller in the 80. Boy, did he pull away late in that one for the win. Mikey Wonderling in his first start in the 57J for Jim Schuyler in 2016. He was second. Glenn Reitner was third. Carl Hughes fourth. Kurt Stebbins the top 5. 6 through 10 was Mick Seeley, Wally Wade, Bobby Luberts, Rick Laux, and Steve LeBaron. Carl Hughes and Bruce Miller were your heat race winners. Then in the street stock division, 14 cars in attendance, 20 laps for their feature. And this was a photo finish. Drag race to the line. Kurt Stebbins by a nose over Glenn Reitner. Dylan Cece was running second, trying to get by Stebbins on the outside. And at that point, the outside wasn't going to work. Reitner got by for second and almost got Stebbins for the win. Brett Marlatt was fourth. Teddy Morseman, the top 5. 6 through 10 was Tracy Dunn, and Tracy had a rough night. Was running up toward the front, and then a miscued restart caught several drivers out of whack on a restart, and Tracy unfortunately was one of the victims of that as he lost a couple spots going into turn 1. And then they all started crashing in front of him, and he got involved in a melee unrelated to his doing. Jared Dennis, Dan Gardner, Zane King Jr., and Allison Pierce, your top 10. It was Morseman and Cece in for the heat race wins. Doherty Auto Sales Mini Stock, 17 cars in attendance. Chris Woodard picked up his second win of the season over Rich Sharpstein, who finally got things going in that Flying X. And as we talk about that, Sharpstein, since Saturday night, has gone back to Brian Grant Jr. and repurchased the car that he won double championships with last season. So we could see the end to Rich Sharpstein's struggles in the mini stocks as he now has his car back from 2015. We'll see what he can do with that. Jeffrey Doherty up for a nice podium finish in third. Ron Daly Jr. fourth, and Rick Amadon the top 5. 6 through 10, Carl Bourne, John Hand Jr., David Mayo, Chris Hand, and Brian Grant Jr. Ron Daly Jr. and Rick Amadon were your heat race winners. And in the Woodhull Auto Supply front-wheel drives, 11 cars in attendance. Dave Richmond, first career feature win at Woodhull Raceway. He got the win over Nate Freeland. Adam Del Grosso, nice third-place run for Adam, trying to get his season turned around. Joe Bertzel, fourth, and Sean Gleason, the point leader, the top 5. And then the rest of the field back there through 10th, Carl LeBaron, Billy Joe Bertzel, Matt Prescott, Jay McConnell, and Nick Brown. So coming up next Saturday night, Patriot Sprint Tour back in town at the Woodhull Raceway. You've also got 35 laps for the mini stocks. All divisions will be in competition on Saturday night at Woodhull Raceway. Race time is 6:30 p.m., so it's the Patriot Sprint Tour plus a full show. They're going to move that show right along on Saturday night. A lot of divisions, a lot of racing. The Warriors, yes, will be in competition as well. So it's going to be a full night at Woodhull Raceway, and I'll tell you, for a general admission price to see the sprint cars and that much racing on Saturday night, general admission $18, you can't beat it. And if you get there between 4:30 and 5:30 for the early bird special, you can take another $1 off of that. So final break of the night, boys. We're getting ready to take the white flag. When we come back, we'll wrap up this week's episode of Turn 5 Live here on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading materials supplier to the racing industry. Now they're also an official motorsports content partner of Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for all their raw materials, such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much, much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is your number one source for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the road to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com and SRI-supplies.com. You can also find them on Facebook at Stock Car Steel and Aluminum, or call either company toll-free at 1-888-752-7272.
Creekside Entertainment is the official DJ, photo booth, and uplighting company of Turn 5 Live and the Performance Motorsports Network. Stuart Ovens and his staff at Creekside Entertainment are professional and experienced with events of any type. Creekside Entertainment specializes in wedding packages that are affordable and fun, and they are ready to serve you with the most up-to-date music and karaoke selection. If you can sing it in the shower, you can come out and sing it with Creekside Entertainment. And don't forget about the Creekside Entertainment photo booth and uplighting service that will transform your wedding or party into an event the family will be talking about for years. Trust the entertainment company that racers trust. Call Stu at area code 315-481-9700 or visit them online at creeksideentertainmentdj.com. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter. Creekside Entertainment, division sponsor of the Black Rock Bandits in 2015.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Hi, race fans. This is Matt Shepard, and you're listening to Turn 5 Live on PMN.
Well, guys, he's going to be one of the guys to beat tomorrow night at Outlaw Speedway. Matt Shepard in the Norm Hansel 357 car on Wednesday night for the Short Track Super Series. He'll be a guy to beat for sure. One guy that is going to be without a ride, and what a shame it is because of the damage on Friday night. Gary Tompkins is without a ride tomorrow. So if anybody listening tonight, if you happen to have, a $60,000 to $70,000 modified just sitting around, I do know a driver that could fill that seat and potentially qualify your way into a $400 to win modified feature tomorrow night. So
$400 to start.
Or I'm sorry, $400 to start. So. Unfortunate to see that for Gary, and hopefully, that won't deter him from coming back, because I think, before this week, he had finally turned the corner on the bad luck, and then Donnie Lawson sitting around, backwards, and Donnie just holding on. Donnie told me Saturday night at Woodhall, he goes, when you're sitting like that, you're a sitting duck. You're just waiting for somebody to plow into you. And, Gary, I mean, what, Clint? Probably half a foot, maybe a foot away from missing him completely. And,
not much.
Just got him. And boy, it definitely tore up the back end of the 84 car and for sure tore up the side of the 11 car, but so that's my little PSA for the end of the show here. If anybody's got a ride, Gary Tompkins could really do some good things for you. As we get ready to close out the show tonight, guys, let's get into some other results. Matt Shepard picking up the win at Canandaigua in the modified division. He also picked up a win at Brewerton on Friday, so Matt starting to get back to his winning ways. That didn't take long. Not that we expected it to take long, but Patriot Sprint Tour, Friday night, Ransomville, the modifieds there had the night off, so Chuck Hebing went into town, Brad, and picked up a Patriot Sprint Tour win. It was nice to see the Cobra back on top in victory lane.
Yeah, it's always good to see the Cobra out racing and running with the Patriots and getting the win up at Ransomville on Friday night. I heard there was a little bit of excitement coming from the Ransomville Speedway. Just on a side note, apparently we had a little incident with a push truck being parked on the right rear tire of Daryl Ruggles' car and having to use the second tow truck to lift the first tow truck off of Ruggles' car to get the car from underneath the tow truck. So I'm sure, as you can imagine, that's probably not something that we want to see at a racetrack anytime soon again. But, it's good to see the Cobra back out. We talked to Kelly Hebing, and she was talking about how how Chuck had his incident over the winter with a snowmobiling accident, and you never want to see somebody like that get hurt and especially affect their racing. But let's see, we've got some results here from the Ransomville Speedway. Hebing, of course, picking up his heat race win, going to Chuck Hebing. Another guy who's having some really, really good luck in his, actually he's running the pink sprint car. Daryl Ruggles is actually running Alicia's car right now, and he actually picked up a win at the Ransomville Speedway Friday night with the Patriots. And funny story about Daryl, they had that the night I was at the practice night at Paradise, and Alicia ended up spinning out Daryl's green car, Eagle chassis that he had, and actually ended up transferring the weight onto the left rear suddenly and ended up flipping the car over and crushing a wing. They actually ended up putting 4 different drivers in that race car, and every single driver with their own setup, their own everything in that car, couldn't keep that car straight and would spin that car out. So Eagle Chassis got a hold of the Ruggles, and Eagle actually sent Daryl a brand new chassis and told him to send back that chassis that he had that nobody could drive. All 4 drivers couldn't drive it, so they want to get that chassis back and look at it and see why that chassis is doing what it does. So Daryl's working on putting together a brand new car, but while he's doing that, he's running Alicia's car, and he's had a couple. He would have had a top 5 this past Saturday at Fulton, but Joe Tranca got him. I believe it was a last lap pass to put him back to the 5th place, or excuse me, the 6th place. But the A main up at Ransomville at the Big R saw Chuck Hebing winning over Ryan Susi, who actually Ryan Susi led a lot of the race. This was actually his first start in a 360 sprint car, and he went out there and ran with the best. Got ousted by Chuck Hebing, which that's kind of what Chuck Hebing does. But Ryan Susi coming home 2nd. Jared Zimbardi was 3rd. Dan Larank was 4th. Steve Glover come home with a strong top 5 finish. Another guy who's been impressing us on the 360 tour lately, Jonathan Preston, brought him home 6th. He's had a lot of good runs lately with the 360 out on tour. Tommy Wickham was 7th. Daryl Ruggles 8th. Paul Habeck was 9th. And Josh Azee was the top 10 there at the Ransomville Speedway. And so, now we're going to...
Yeah, that was a good run for Susi. I think that was their first run of 2016. And I was reading somewhere that I think he won the next night or Sunday night in a 360 and what was like his 7th or 8th start in a sprint car. So that was a great weekend for Susi.
Yeah, that it definitely was. And talking to Mike Emhoff and the guys Saturday night with the Patriots at Fulton, I guess he was out there with a pretty good ways, and Chuck really had to work him, and I think Chuck finally ended up getting him after a late race restart, I think is what they said it was. And, it was close racing and definitely a strong competitive run by Ryan Susi. Now we move over to June 4th to the Averty Storage Containers presented race at the Fulton Speedway. Danny Varon picking up his heat win. He was strong on the night. There's no doubt about that. Joey Tranca picked up his heat race win. And let me tell you what, Larry White started last in heat race number 3, and by lap 1.5, he was 3rd. He went from 8th or 9th place to 3rd in a lap and a half. Ended up winning his heat race barely by a half a car. Daryl Ruggles came on with about a lap and a half left, and if he'd have had another lap, I think Daryl probably could have gotten that heat race win. And we have the A main. Danny Varon picking up his first ever sprint car win, and he did it on a track. I'll tell you what, it looked like we were at Oswego because that track was black, slick, and it was icy. It was an incredible race. Larry White had it up on the cushion. It looked like Larry had it on cruise control. He had a good starting position. I want to say he started 3rd, or he was in the top 2 or 3 rows after the redraw. And, Larry White was just literally on cruise control, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, with about 10, 15 laps to go, Danny Varon actually made the pass on the bottom side coming off of 4 and made it stick, and Danny Varon went on to win. Larry White was 2nd. Keeping another top 3 finish podium for the weekend. Brian Howland was 4th. Joey Tranca ended up 5th, ousting Daryl at the line. Through 10 were Sammy Reeks, Mitch Brown, George Thomas, Jared Zimbardi, and Tommy Wickham. It was just a lot of really great racing for the sprint cars. That weekend, and I'll tell you what, it's going to be another great weekend of racing. And we go over to our CRSA sprint cars. We went to the I-88 Speedway, and I told you I send that double checkered flag out to the I-88 Speedway. Such a great host and a great facility, and I'll tell you what, for a little bull ring track that it is, that track was looking good, and I tell you, they had the I-88 cut out in the infield of the grass. It was fantastic. Just a great facility all around. coming away with a feature win, finally got the monkey off his back. He's been in the top 5 almost every race we've had this season. Scott Goodrich finally put it in the lane. Won his first race of the 2016 season. Brian Crummell had another strong finish. Mike Kaiser was 3rd. Billy Van Ewingen Jr. was 4th. Kyle Smith with another top 5. Emily Van Ewingen was 6th. Eddie Strada was 7th. 8th goes to Dustin Purdy. Art Kaiser, who started on the pole, won his heat race that night. Really good showing for Art, was 9th. And Peter Dance ended up 10th in the number 93. And I'll tell you what, we had at I-88 Speedway, that track was slick. Drivers really had to work the throttle, really had to finesse the car through the corner. And I'll tell you what, it was a lot of really good sprint car racing this weekend, as there's going to be more this coming.
Well, that's good to hear. Good racing all around there. Clint, as we start to close in on the end of tonight's show, 2 races for ESS. One was rained out up north of the border in Canada, but they did get 2 shows in this weekend out of 3. And I'll give you one guess as to who won them both. Poirier. Steve Poirier, Fireball, picked up a win at Autodrome Drummond. Paul Kenny, Jason Barney, Lee Ladesseur, and Jeff Cook were your top 5 at Auto Drummond. And then Friday night at Autodrome Granby, it was again Poirier picking up the win, Jason Barney 2nd. Dylan Swernick 3rd in his first run of the season, I believe. I read that this weekend. Jan Bilodeau was 4th, and Matt Tanner, your top 5. So there was your top 5 from Friday and Saturday on the Lucas Oil Empire Super Sprint Tour. And some other news, in Chemung, TJ Zacharias picked up the win in the Sunoco Modifieds, his 2nd of the season. Nick Robinson, your Superstock winner for his 3rd feature in a row. For Nick Robinson. So he has got the New York Superstock Series coming in this coming Friday night there at Chemung. You also had the 4-cylinders. Monica Green picked up the feature win there. She's won 2 out of the first 3 there at Chemung, defending her championship from last season. And then in the iNext Legends, this guy has been fighting to get a win this season. Actually, the last couple of seasons since moving up to the iNext Legends, and that was Chuck Lohmeyer. He got the win in the iNext Legends division. In the Bandolero division, it was again Garrett Zacharias, who's been just smoking the competition this year. Garrett Zacharias, your winner in the Bandoleros, and Bryce Bailey was your top finishing bandit. And then Shangri-La 2, they're supposed to have a race on Saturday, Clint, but if you read the forums and you see the lack of info that's come out, I talked to Morgan Colgrove about it this week, and a lot of folks, even employees at Shangri-La 2, not sure what is happening on Saturday. At this point, it doesn't look like the event is going to go on as planned, which is a shame because the Concrete Castle is a pretty special race place for sure.
Yeah, I loved, my only trip down there, I thought it was amazing. I would love to go back, and, we just never have.
Yep, absolutely. Well, folks, coming up tomorrow night, it's the big show, the Short Track Super Series night at Outlaw Speedway. Race time is 7 p.m. We'll be sure to follow Outlaw Speedway on Facebook as well as Turn 5 Live. On Facebook, we'll have full coverage. I'm sure we'll have some videos from the pits and around the grounds. But hope to see you folks there. And then we'll be back here next Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. for another edition of Turn 5 Live here on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports. Good night, everybody.
Turn 5 Live is a copyrighted production of the Performance Motorsports Network. PerformanceMotorsportsNetwork.com is a member of the Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated and may not be rebroadcast, replicated, or saved in any media without the explicit written permission of PMN. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, co-host, and guest, and do not necessarily reflect those of the management and ownership of either the Performance Motorsports Network or Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, the advertisers, or marketing partners. Thank you for listening to Turn 5 Live. You can listen to Turn 5 Live every Tuesday night right here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Stay tuned for more great PMN programming.
Searching for a